Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. I am so mad at myself. A quick tip to people who are looking into filming things. Make sure your microphone is plugged in before you film. I filmed an entire video for this already and I went into my editor to start editing it and didn't record the audio. So that was a waste of 10 minutes. But it's Friday, and as always, you guys know that I watch new releases every Friday. I try to get them out as quick as possible. I watch as many as possible, and I really enjoy my Fridays. But today I rolled the dice, and the first one that we're going to be talking about today is Paper Spiders. Just a reminder that if you like the video, please consider subscribing. It's a huge help. Thanks. Paper Spiders was released in 2021, and it was written by Enon Champenier and Natalie Champenier, and it was directed by Enon Champenier. I don't know those names. I don't know anything about them in terms of them being a writer or director. I just know they happen to do this. Before we get started, two things. One, no spoilers. I don't do spoilers in this video because that would be dumb. But two, I love young adult fiction. Okay, you can look right up here. All these books are the books that I've read recently. These are my most recent. I put whatever I read like recently on the bottom. So like the last book I read was Dear Martin. So if you guys ever want to talk to me about any of the books that I have like right here in the videos, just put a comment on the video and I'd love to talk about it. I love talking about young adult fiction. Right now I'm actually reading Leah on the Offbeat, which is a really great book so far, and it is the sequel to Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. But the reason I bring that up is because this movie feels like a young adult film, okay? No spoilers, but essentially what happens to Paper Spiders is we have this mother, right, who is slowly descending into paranoia because her husband's dead and her daughter's about to go off to college and she's kind of freaking out, and it activates this thing in her brain that makes her paranoid about the neighbor. She thinks the neighbor's attacking them at all times. Whereas Melanie, her daughter, is trying to live a normal life in high school. She's trying to, find a boy. She's trying to go into the college of her dreams, even though it's really far away. And she's trying to take her APs and all that kind of stuff, which for me is super relatable. And that's what this movie is for me. It's relatable in a way that I never thought it would be, okay? There's a lot of really interesting things in this movie that I would like to talk about. Obviously, no spoilers, but a few things in particular. First, the way it feels is a genre film, right? I think it's a young adult film. I would probably label this as a young adult film. I don't know what it actually is labeled at. I probably should look at that, but I would label it as a young adult film. But also I could see it being a drama film, and it is definitely a mental illness film as well. Which, a lot of young adult fiction, and even some young adult nonfiction, although I don't really read that much, has a lot to do with not only being young adult, but also having an issue, right? Like, in Leah on the Offbeat, we have Leah, who is a bisexual person trying to figure out who to date, right? And in Simon versus the Homo Sapien Agenda, his problem is that he's gay, but he doesn't know how to tell that, and he's trying to find this guy. In this one, the problem is that this person's a teenager. Yes, that makes a young adult. But the problem is that her mom is slowly slipping into paranoia, which is insane to think about, because that's so incredibly unrelatable for most of us, right? Like, if my mother were slowly slipping into paranoia, that would be crazy, right? And that's what makes it unrelatable, which is interesting because somehow that makes it more relatable, right? I'm over here this movie is nothing like actual life for me, right? Except for the whole teenage part. I understand all of that. But the whole depression and the whole, paranoia thing shouldn't be relatable to me at all. But it really is. I was really impressed. They were able to present it in a way that, I felt for her, What is that? Maple syrup. But, I don't know. It was complicated. It's a complicated watch, right? It's one of those movies that you probably could just sit back and just kind of relax and watch, but you're going to get way more out of it if you just kind of pay attention a little bit and kind of focus on what everything really means, which I can't really talk about in this video because of spoilers, but there's a lot of behind-the-scenes context that really worked for me. And then there's the whole, the characters. The characters are really cool. We have Dawn, who's literally going insane, but she doesn't know she's being insane because that's the part of her, right? That is part of her that she can't just expel, right? She's just going crazy, but she thinks it's real. which is the important part of the mental illness that people oftentimes will skip over, right? In a lot of mental illness films, they'll be like, oh, well, she knows she has depression because she's depressed. Not exactly, not necessarily. And here, the point of this is that paranoia is impossible to diagnose and fix, right? Because how do you tell somebody who thinks that their reality is real that the reality is fake, right? If you were like, hey, your name isn't Robert, I'd be like, you're wrong, right? That's how that feels to her. And they really show it very well, and I'm really impressed with that. Well, on the flip side of that, we do have this really awesome young adult movie, right? Where we have, Melanie, who is just trying to get through high school. She's trying to take her APs, but her mother throws out her laptop because she thinks she's being tracked. Her mom, she wants to go out on dates, but her mom is like, oh, well, what if he's the guy tracking you? And it's like this intense balance of unbalances that work so well in this movie. Now, the question is this movie perfect? No, it is not. It is not perfect. And a lot of that has to do with the balance of time here. We spend a lot of time with each character, right? That both Melanie and Dawn. But I don't think that it was equal on either end. And I think that spending a little bit more time with Melanie, a little bit less with Dawn, might have helped us a little bit. Because for us, the issue was that we knew for a fact that she was going crazy. There was never a moment in our brains where we were like, oh, well, she's right? So it kind of felt like a waste of time. Because we knew, right? I think it would have been cooler if they maybe tried to anticipate the fact that we might not know if she's actually going crazy or if it's real. But they didn't really play with that, which is fine. I mean, it worked fine for the movie. But I think that if you wanted to add an extra layer to the film, might want to consider doing that. That is something that I might think about if somebody was writing a book. They might want to write it from both perspectives. I think that'd be really cool. But, I mean, really, the bad things are small. There's the runtime, which is almost 2 hours, which is about average for a film right now, although the average is going higher. But I think it was a little long. I think that cutting like 20 minutes off, like just trimming it real quickly, quick little trim, might have worked a little bit better for it. We could have shaved off some of the whole high school thing with the dating relationship, which I liked the relationship that she had. I liked it a lot. I think it was really interesting and really fun to watch. But I don't think it was necessarily necessary. I think it was necessary, I do. But I don't think it was necessary that it had to be so long. Which, is what it is. Maybe it's personal preference, but still. And I do think that we did linger a little bit on Dawn in times that I didn't think we were going to. And some of the things that they did in the movie just kind of felt ridiculous. Like her living in her car for months just kind of felt ridiculous. Because as a person who's a teenager, like, you would think that Melanie would just try to fix that. Like, be like, hey, can you get her to please come inside or something? And, like, they just never kind of did that. Which is fine. I understand why they didn't. I just think that might have solved the problem a little quicker. But that's okay. I do want to bring up the performances because I think they were spectacular. First, Lily Taylor as Dawn. Lily Taylor, I don't know her from a lot, but I've actually been watching the Conjuring series for my Conjuring series on this channel, which premieres, it starts on the 28th, I believe, of May. So if you guys like that, please consider subscribing, because I'm leading up to the new Conjuring movie. And I had no idea this is the same person from the first Conjuring movie until I was Googling pictures for the edit, and I was like, wait a second. That's the same person from The Conjuring. And they're completely different, and I'm really impressed. That really impressed me. She's so good at, like, slowly slipping into madness. Like, people can be like, oh, and I'm in madness now. But she was, like, this slow descent. And it worked really well. She was scary at times, and also at times really convincing. And honestly, that's what you want in a character like that. You don't want something so two-dimensional that they're like, oh, I'm just crazy. There's a lot of people that can play that, but there's no reason to. If you can add an extra layer of, like, she thinks she's normal, add that, And they did, and I'm really happy that they did that here. Stefania Levy Owen as Melanie, which is a really cool name. And she is remarkably unremarkable, right? Where, she plays normal so well that you don't even realize that it's a fantastic performance. By the end of this movie, I was like, wow, she was really good at doing nothing. She can play this just really good, solid normalcy, right? But then there's the things that switch, right? There are times when she gets so mad at her mom, she flips out and she screams and she yells. And those parts worked very well, too. She was able to play super strong and super soft at the same time. And I was really, really impressed with her. Hopefully we get more of her in the future for just young adult movies in general. I actually, while watching the movie, I had a thought that I think she'd be perfect in The Fault in Our Stars. mainly because I think Shailene Woodley is good, but I think she might have actually done a little bit better than Shailene Woodley there. But I do have a review for The Fault in Our Stars coming out in like June or something like that, so subscribe if you want that. But I think that's going to be it for me talking about this today. I just want to wrap up real quick, and I just want to say that I think it's a really good movie. You can rent it on Fandango now or Amazon or Vudu for like $5, so it's pretty cheap and definitely worth it. And it's a fun movie. Definitely watch with people if you have friends. They might like it too. And it's a heart-burning movie that just gets you thinking about mental illness and how it can affect not only the person affected, but the person that that is affected is affecting. It's a long chain, but it works really well. I like it a lot. And I'm going to go ahead and give Paper Spiders an A-. A really solid first movie of the day. I've got hopefully 3 more. I'm hoping to get through Monster, Mainstream, and 15 Things You Didn't Know About Bigfoot, and not necessarily in that particular order. We'll see. I'm going to roll the dice and see what comes next. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please consider subscribing if you guys like new reviews. I have new reviews coming out every Friday, and then every Monday through Friday, I have other reviews of old movies coming out, so make sure you guys are subscribing for all that, because I'm having a great time doing it, and I hope you guys are having a great time watching. But that's going to do it for me today, and as always, keep watching movies and television, stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.